Good evening. My name is Mark Dunham. I'm the chair of the College of Western Idaho Board, and thank you for coming. Um, when I became the chair in November, um, I really wanted to do like a listening tour, talk to our constituents, find out what the not comedians, sorry,
Sometimes
that's
we
me.
are.
The community needs, what we should do differently, and so this is the result of doing a listening tour. This is our 8th one. This is our last one for now. We're committed to, talk to the public and, through our every avenue possible. So thank you for coming. I do want to thank Kuna High School. This is a wonderful facility. We don't have a facility like this because we don't have any buildings. So, and then Browning is the Vice President of Communication and Public Relations, and so you're going to turn it over, and would you please introduce the staff too?
You bet.
Thank you.
So, thank you, and I'll answer to most anything. So, whatever job you want to, I'm happy to be employed at this age in life. So, welcome, Superintendent. Nice to see you. So, I want to introduce our other trustees who are here this evening, and I'll come back to that other slide. Vice Chair of the Board is Emily Walton, and then there you go. We encourage applause. We'll be with a jar as you leave tonight. And then Stan Bastian is our Secretary Treasurer. And so these are our three. There you go. There you go. We have two others that could not make it tonight. Skip Smizer, who's our most recently elected trustee, and then Mary Nyland was planning on coming here and then had an event come up, conflict that came up. She sends her regrets. So as does President Glandon. So he's got a family deal. His daughter-in-law was involved in a pretty significant fender bender yesterday. So he's attending the family today, which we totally applaud. Let's take care of our families first. So as Chair Dunham mentioned, this is the 8th of these. So you think we have this down by now. We don't. What we really have learned with each one of these as we've gone along is that the more we know, the less we know. So I'm really glad to see you, and especially you folks from the high school and the district, because our partnerships are really important to us. And as you grow and succeed, boy, I'll tell you, we're selfish. We want in on that. And likewise. So I think we can help each other out. So these are the places we've been. The reason I want to keep this up, because there's not another event tomorrow or next week. And Tony's really glad of that because of the budget. We're done. And it is getting towards the end of the fiscal year. But we've got a couple of email and forum addresses on there. Listening tour at cwidaho.cc. And then CWIDifference.com is on the web page, and then also on our Facebook page. So all of these are archived there. If you have questions, we're going to monitor those, continue to monitor that quite a bit as we go forward. So I want to introduce also, before we get going too far, some members of our crew that are here, and especially these guys circling in the back. So Judd and Ross, can you guys just give a little wave? These two guys I cannot say enough about. And then this one sitting over here, Kuna's native hometown son, Zach Ricketts, a native. He's got the card and everything to prove it. They really have done phenomenal work. Jess Argyle, Ashley Smith from our office, and then we've got a couple of suits here with us today. So I think I should have worn a tie, but Vice President for Finance and Administration, Tony Miat, is here. Just got that title. It's brand new. I know, he's still shining it up. So Cheryl Wright, if you know Cheryl in our organization, she's retiring. So Tony is taking over. Then Craig Brown, another native, well, not native, but you've lived here a long time. Right. Craig Brown is our Vice President of Operations. So I think we got everybody, right? Have we covered everyone? Okay. So what we've done with these presentations, as this thing works, is I think most everyone is aware where we were just 10, 11 years ago. But we just want to briefly cover some of that and say, okay, 2006, what was the higher ed landscape in Idaho? We had 2 full-on community colleges, what we call comprehensive community colleges. So career technical back then, professional technical, right? Along with transfer, we had the 2-year technical college over in Idaho Falls, which is now transforming into a community college. 1 4-year normal school, formerly known as a normal school, and then the 3 research universities. 2007, all of us here in Ada and Canyon County, we voted. Supermajority between the two said yes, and we started. Spring of '09, we opened up the doors, both in Ada and Canyon County in 2009, and here we go, 1,200 students. By the next year, we're over 17,000. Now, were we awesome? Yeah, but what else was happening? Recession was happening at that time. As we're dealing with that, we're running out, we're leasing buildings. We probably rented space from you guys, you know? I mean, we were looking for spots everywhere. But we really started to grow and develop as a college. 2011, we started to add some clubs and activities for students, and that was the first of our now 5 national championships in speech and debate. We have more than the Talking Broncos of Boise State. We just like to point that out. Micron Center came in 2012, which was a wonderful addition to our campus. It then, at that point, gave us 3 buildings. Mark mentioned, he goes, we'd love to have a building like this. We don't own any building. We only own 3. Out of all the places we are, we have the 2 buildings that came in the transfer from Boise State. So the big 3-story academic building sitting in the back of the 100 acres there off Canada Boulevard. The Micron Center, which is the old Sam's Club, which graciously through the Albertson Foundation and the Micron folks got it all refurbished, and I mean, it's brand new on the inside out. And then the Canyon County Center on the boulevard. Those are the 3 buildings we own. We lease everything else to the tune of $2+ million a year. Tony had a full head of hair when we started those leases, and it's not, you know, it worries us at night. We really started with our articulation agreements in 2013 so that our students now at this point, for some of those even that started in 9, we know that most of our students, you know, they don't complete in 4 years. That just doesn't happen. 2 years, excuse me. Some of them takes 4 years, 5 years. But those articulation agreements, especially to our state schools, to make sure that they get through and move through on time. More lease came up in 2014, right? Those that we took out in 9, 10, and 11 are coming up in 19, 20, and 21. And our big worry is that they're going to be far more expensive because we got those at the bottom of the recession. 15 was a very big year for us with remediation. I know this is something that worries you guys too. Students coming out, if they take any time off at all, they lose those math skills. And if it's a significant amount of time, we see them lose the English proficiency as well. 60% of the students that come to us, whether they're straight out of high school or if they've been gone 5 years, need some sort of remediation. Our faculty work really hard to get a model where they move through dually at the same time, so they don't have to spend an entire semester. Maybe they only need 3 weeks worth of remediation. Maybe they need 6 weeks, but they're moving through at the same time to help them towards completion. So I know you folks from the district and the high school understand how important accreditation is. This is just such a big thing for us. We had our final visit this past October, 7 years to get to that point. 7 years. 7 years. It's a grind, but we got it. We got the letter in April. We made it. We're fully accredited. We're independent now, and a ton of thanks to CSI. They were our umbrella, but it was also a bit of a hindrance. As much as they were trying to help us, and they were phenomenal, we could only do what was applicable and movable through their systems, through the accreditation. Now we have much more flexibility to start programs or adapt programs as we need to, because we have standalone licensure. So that brings us to where we're at now. Here we are, 2016 and 17. Our enrollment snapshot, career and technical is actually softening up a little bit. And we look at that and we go, why? There's such great careers out there. Duh, there's such great careers out there. It's tough to keep them in. When they get just enough training to go, they go. And they head right to the workplace. Academic transfer on the academic fair side, as we see, it's very cyclical. When the economy is good, the students aren't coming to us. And you can just tell kind of when Idaho's economy started to get a little better in 14, 15, and 16, we've softened up. Where we are growing is with you folks, dual credit and workforce. So those 2 areas of our operation are really growing. And that's a good sign for us, I think, as an institution, because we're doing our part to help bridge those students from high school into post-secondary. Now, we don't convert enough of them to come directly to us. We usually see them go to BSU, ISU, U of I, Lewis Clark, or they'll go out of state. But we're getting them on the right track with your help and your faculty. So, split up by residency. This is always an interesting slide to me, because I think it's revealing in that how many students have Ada County as their home county. 53% of our students, but yet the majority of the classes, 9,500 of those credit hours, are taken in Canyon County. They're traveling. What we hear from students is they'd take more, they could get through sooner, but facilities are an issue. They're traveling a lot between. So they go to Black Eagle over here on Overland for a class, then they've got to come out to Nampa for a class, then they've got to go over to the Canyon County Center for something else. Career and Technical's got to go over there, and they're, you know, ITD's loving this, right? Because we're getting a lot of gas tax and they're buying tires, but it's an obstacle for them. We are increasing the amount of degrees and certificates that the students are earning, though, even though two parts of our business are softening over the last couple of years. So the students are earning more, learning more, and they're getting better prepared as they go out. The other part that I just want to touch on here is we now have a certificate for general education. So a student can come through and get core complete and then transfer on. Even without that degree, they can have a certificate now, and they walk to the registrar at Boise State and say, here's my English, my math, my science, and they can't deny it. It's awesome. That's what we're really gearing for. So what's next? We've got the certificate. We've been working with the CTE folks, and especially at the K-12 level, you guys have been just absolutely phenomenal. This idea of stackable credits across the board is really, it has a lot of promise for all of us, but especially for the students, because that's something they can visualize. Okay, I get this one, then this one, and this one, and here I am. Now I have my certificate or my degree. This has probably been our number one bragging point, I think, is the amount of businesses and schools and government organizations that have come to us to partner, and the amount of expertise that has been lent to us is really phenomenal. Western CAD in particular. So that was a 2-year associate degree program. We were having trouble getting students finishing. CAT was hiring them all. We said, you guys are killing us. We love that they're working, but they're not getting complete. What happens 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And they said, it takes too long. We can't wait 2 years for these folks to get done. What can be done? So they came in, sat down with our faculty, our folks, condensed the curriculum down, really strengthened it up and said, okay, we can do this in 13 months if they go full-time, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And that's what they do now. And CAT says, okay, you got it. When they come, they've got the certification, the degree when they're done. They got a job waiting for them. 2 days ago, there was a story in the Daily Interlake, which is out of northwest Montana. Kalispell was a young man, I think, out of Big Fork, and they talked all about his background, where he'd had a lot of struggles. But he's coming to CWI. What is that, 600-700 miles away, for the diesel tech program, and he has a job waiting for him at Western CAT. So, I mean, the reach is really getting pretty incredible. Workforce has been a huge part of our business now, and will continue to be. It's interesting to me how apprenticeships, you know, back when I was a kid, many, many years ago, you know, you went and apprenticed as an HVAC or a plumber or an electrician. And those types of hands-on experiences as part of the education are really coming back as a very effective way to get going. But 34 programs, but we've done this year over 262 customized classes for industry. So we're getting those folks back there. We talked about accreditation. I want to get to these folks here. So this young man sitting right over here in the nice crimson shirt is the architect of our strategic plan, and bless his heart for doing it. Because for those of us in the room, any of us who have worked through, come on in, you're all right. Tony only bite if you get, yeah, you're far enough away, you're okay. Strategic planning, as you know, when you do it well, is really, really hard work. And then when you stick to the plan and work the plan, and the plan morphs and adapts, is even harder work. The easy part is to just type something up and throw it on the shelf. Oh, we did a plan. There it is right there. Isn't that binder beautiful, right? The communications folks did awesome with the cover. They got it all bound. It looks nice. You don't ever look at it. What good does it do? That's where Craig's work has really been invaluable, because now it says, okay, yeah, we've got some softening now due to economy, but we know here's what's coming. Demographic growth is coming. Leases are coming. How do we prepare for that? And that's really why we're here over the last 3 weeks in 8 places, and we're going to continue to do that, because we need from your perspectives here at the high school, what do you see there with your students that you have daily contact with that we need to be considering as we move this thing forward? And that's what our trustees need to hear, because it's up to them to figure out how to say, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't think we can quite squeeze that much out of that apple. What are we going to do? So squeezing, and here we go. I feel like I'm preaching to a choir. Is that the saying? I'm not good with church sayings. Is that what they say? I'm trying to remember back when I was a kid and my mom used to knock on the back of my head to listen to the preacher, but squeezing is what we all do in education, right? I mean, we squeeze every dime out of it. This is how our pie is made up. We're about 40% tuition fees. So $139 per credit and fee. That's what the students pay per credit. State makes up about 35%, but just under 13% comes from property tax between the two counties. And then grants, we pull in about 10%. We're able to go after more grants now that we have our own accreditation. We were limited in what we could do because we couldn't be the fiscal agent, for one. And then we've got some miscellaneous revenue, bookstore revenue, and some other things like that. The big one for me is our students pack the majority of the weight at 139, which is still really, really affordable when we're looking right down the street at 300 plus at a 4-year. That's the message that we're trying to get to students, that you're getting every bit or more so the quality education in those first 2 years, because you've got a master's level teacher in the classroom versus a TA, and help make that transition. As we look at the strategic plan and we say, okay, we need buildings, we've got to renew leases in some places, hopefully terminate others, and start these programs. How do we do that with all of us knowing the limited ability or accessibility to state funding and what the climate is there? And as you know, the challenge in passing a bond in this state, and especially in a two-county dynamic, right? I mean, I was looking at some of the information today. Okay, some precincts, this is not a problem. We'd run right out tomorrow. It'd get 72%, wouldn't be a problem. And we've got other precincts that are 28. I mean, we kind of expected vegetables to be thrown at us when we went out there. So that's the challenge. So where we're at now is these three lovely folks would love to hear from all of you. Ideas, maybe some successes that you've had out here in building beautiful facilities and meeting your community's demands. What you see from your students' perspectives. I mean, you're in the classrooms with them. What are the students saying that they need? What from your mindset, what do they really need? So this is where my dog and pony show stops, and this all gets going. So who wants to? The lovely young lady in the awesome
like
T-shirt.
The lone citizen. Oh, sorry, Brenda. Hi. So I don't know if you came with this information, but I'm just curious. What was the vote in Kuna for the original bond? What was the vote in Kuna for the most recent bond? And what percentage of, how many Kuna kids do you have going there, and how much of that is the college? How much of the college is that?
That's a great question, and we'll have to research it.
I have a little bit of information.
I was going to say, we actually looked at some of the information today. In the most recent bond, the CUNA districts voted in favor, but not at a high enough, and not at the 66 2/3, but more than 50%. As for the amount of students that we have from CUNA zip codes, we'll have to break that one down, and we'll get back to you on that. The original, I don't know, we'd have to pull it. Do you remember offhand?
What I do remember right offhand, the two precincts in the main city area here were between 50 and 58% yes. When we moved outside to a little bit more of the rural areas, we were below 50% on the
original
bond.
vote in
yes.
7.
Well, not necessarily on the original, but on the most recent bond.
Let's go right over here.
No, I mean, I looked at it when we looked at our bond stuff, because we looked
Right.
at your numbers to see which precincts we felt like our bond would be successful in. So, I mean.
So just as on a pause side note, the reason that we've got microphones is not that we want to yell at you, but we're recording these to put them on the website. And Ross and Judd are very diligent in making sure that we do that, because otherwise I think we just sit and have chat. So, good question, Sharon. When I was here in '07, we spent 5 years in Coeur d'Alene and just came back this last fall. But I remember in '07, the vote was, it was stronger in Ada County than it was in Canyon County. It was still over the 50% threshold in Canyon County, but it wasn't to the 2/3. But you know, our demographics have changed a lot in 10 years, especially here in, it's not really rural, although we do have a dairy next door, but it's, which I think is cool. I pulled in and I went, that's awesome. You know, let's remind students that milk doesn't come off the shelf, right? It actually comes from somebody doing a lot of hard work. But in rural Ada County, I think there's still, there's been a shift into more conservatism ideologically, I think, so.
Mark, I just want to mention, again, this is our 8th one. We've had some really good input. And so what we're going to do with the input is the staff and the board are going to review all the input. We had great ideas. And so part of our, for us as the board, is we wanted to do this. And we're going to try to catalog all the responses and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So.
You want input? I've got input. Yes.
Please.
Okay. One idea I had is if we could figure out ways to not just get our high-achieving high school students, but get all of our high school students to take some of those basic classes. So if they could take English 101 and English 102 while they're still supported in the high school environment, and then also instead of focusing just on math 175 and 170, focus on the math that gets them, like math 128, that intermediate algebra, I think, so that they can have those credits. So if they go and do an associate's degree that doesn't need the heavy math, they're good to go.
Yeah.
Because what happens is they go back 10 years later and they try to take those classes 10 years later and they've forgotten all that math, and then it becomes a barrier for them to go back.
Okay. Back to the slide that shows the dual credit. If we could do that quickly. I don't know if you can.
I'm clicking away, Stan. I'm working
Okay.
on it. There you go.
There we
Is that
go.
what you're
And you
thinking?
can look at dual credit, and you can see the expansion of that. We have 4,000, what is it, 180
Yep.
dual credits, and that's growing. And so we are working closely with the high schools, encouraging dual credit, and it's paying off. There are a number of students, quite a few actually, who not only graduate from high school, but they get their AA degree at the same time. So that's one of our focuses, and we're trying to do that. The other thing that you have a concern about is sometimes we have students who have to take remedial classes, and the remedial classes, particularly in English. And what we've done in English is we have 101 plus. So instead of the students taking a non-credit course, they take a credit course, and we call it a plus because they have to take 2 more hours during the week. Instead of a 3-hour
It's working pretty
class,
well.
we have a 5-hour class for them. The success of that has gone from about 39% to 89%. We have a great success of those students who are taking those courses. We're doing a similar thing in math. It's not quite as successful, but we're experimenting, and we think that we can do a math class similar to the English class, along with lab classes that allow the students to go in to test to see where they are and what areas in math that they need, and basically a program that allows them to focus upon the areas where they have weakness and build that up and be able to take the math class and get the credit for it. So that's what's happening there, and we're just really encouraging that, and it is booming, as you can see over here.
Let me ask you a question while we're moving the mic here. I would love to hear your perspective from the high school perspective on how Fast Forward is working, because I think what we're seeing now, is that where you were going?
Yeah, I just wanted to know with, the Kuna School District, how are we doing with dual credit?
Yeah.
I think we've made significant growth in terms of dual credit ourselves, and we've shifted a lot of our dual credit to CWI. So I think we're moving in that direction. So we have 3 or 4 different levels of math. We teach 101, English 101 here, Poli-Sci 101. And then sort of a laundry list of other courses. And then we do have some dual credits, which are also from other institutions around the Treasure Valley that, as far as I know, we've had really positive success with those transferring to students who go to CWI as well.
What can we do better?
I'd like to make a response there.
On dual credit, we'll come right over here, but what can we do better from a provider standpoint of dual credit? What would make it easier for the student and for you? And if we need to come back, oh.
I'll let you respond, and then I've got an idea. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Wendy Johnson. I'm the superintendent of the Kuna School District. And first of all, let me just tell you that we really have appreciated the partnership that CWI has provided us, not only with the dual credit, because we've been able to, we're trying to get an alignment with GEM certified courses so that we can get kids to an associate's degrees. And there's a few barriers with that. And our English class, you know, the 102, we really want to get that going forward.
Yeah.
But the nice thing, I'll just say about CWI is the people that we've worked with, for the most part, want to be flexible to help us figure it out, to take down the barriers. And that's what I would hope that you would continue to encourage, is to still have the high standards, because we all want that, and our workforce and industry demands that, and we demand that. But to help us to be flexible. There's another area that we have appreciated your recent partnership with, and that is we're trying to do some internal like paraprofessional to teacher routes, and so we've developed a Kuna College in partnership with CWI to target some of our people that are working for us and or their spouses that want to get a college degree. And so, but we're providing the plus part, we're providing the support here, because it's hard for these people to get to the actual campuses because their family, either they have families and that sort of thing. So we're working in partnership. So we've really appreciated that, thinking outside the box with us to how do we get this done and apply high standards. But I am going to bring up another option. And I know that building facilities in Idaho is tremendously difficult as far as like passing the bond. We recently went through, with the help of 2 community activists in this room right here, that's why they're here, because they care about our kids, they care about education. And Sharon likes to attend meetings. So does Brenda. But we are in the process of designing what we have marketed as a phase 1 of a career and technical high school. About a year and a half ago, a small group of us met with President Glandon and said, hey, what if we worked together? We had gone to a school in Salt Lake called Innovation High School, which has a high school housed within a community college. And we wondered about kind of flipping the model and applying it here. We did get a bond passed. We have $25 million applied and targeted to build that phase 1, and we want career and technical education facilities as a part of that. The nice thing is we're just in the midst of developing what that would be, and we think it's an opportunity for CWI to be at the table with us to say what are needs you have, especially with this area. Kuna, we're predicting 400 homes a year for the next 10 years. And that's probably a low projection, at least from what we've been told. So we're going to have a population density. Right now we're not comparable to a Boise or a Nampa, but they're coming. Yeah. And we think that Kuna is a pretty centralized area for maybe people to be drawn to, even if it's the trades that we want to start focusing on, getting kids here. So one of our visions was, what if we were open to 8 to 8? Community people could take it, our high school kids could take it. The facility would be used like it should be, not just during the day, but an extension of time. So I wanted to throw that out there as an idea and a suggestion. And given, you know, our conversations were really with President Glandon, but his focus became let's get the bond passed to get the facility built. And now that isn't currently what has happened, there's an opportunity maybe to work in partnership. We have the money to build it. Will you join us, is what I'm asking. Or
like
at
it.
least having you consider.
Good ideas. Thank you.
We actually have that as part of what we'd like to do in the future. And since you brought that up, it is something that we'd like to follow up on. From the perspective of the Board of Trustees, we would like to see partnerships with business and industry, partnerships with schools, partnerships with health care, hospitals, et cetera. And so that's one of the things that we're really focusing on is the partnerships that we can develop within the community to provide educational opportunities for the students. And so that's a great idea, and I'm sure that President Glandon will be discussing that with us. And you might, in fact, ask our board chair or President Glandon to have an opportunity to come before the board and present your plans, actually. And that we would have an opportunity then to react to that and give you some feedback. On another topic, and just something that I have seen in the places, we all know what an IEP is, right? Individual Education Plan. Do you know what an IGP is? An individual graduation plan. And Texas County decided that they wanted to implement an IGP plan, and I would encourage Kuna to do that. What that means is you have an individual graduation plan that says +2 or +4, so that the students don't think that graduation from high school is the end, but they look forward to 2 more years possibly, or possible 4 more years. And if they have that worked out with their counselor, and then as our recruiters come, not only from CWI, but from other educational institutions, we can encourage those students to go on, and we can hit the 60% possibly someday. So I also encourage you to do that.
Sharon, you had a thought you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, you asked a while back what you all could do better.
Yes.
And so, okay, so here's the one thing that you can do better is your website sucks. Sorry, but it does.
When you say suck, do you mean?
I like to think that I'm like reasonably good with these computer things. I think this internet is really going to catch on. But when I went onto your website to find out what the requirements would be for my kid to get an AA or an AAS, I could not find it. And I know you have it because when the nice guy came to talk to Kuna High School, I don't remember his name, but he's not.
Probably Kellen or Oster, one of them. Yeah, anyway.
Okay. He had this stuff. He had it all printed out, but I couldn't find it on your website. And that should be so easy to find. It is not easy to find. You know, I'm a high school kid. I want to graduate with an AA. What is it I need to do?
Yeah, good point. The web is a constant challenge. One of the things that we're driving for right now is that all the research that we have, both locally, regionally, and nationally, shows that over 60% this past year, and it'll be close to 70, the website's accessed through this. So we've got to be mobile platform first and actually desktop second, which means a whole conversion of the site. Now, this would be my prime opportunity to try to make my case to the trustees for more positions within the web, because that falls in our area, and we'll get there. But
he did not pay me to say this. He did not pay me to say this.
But I am going to get her on the payroll because she's very good.
No, I can't develop.
But it is digital technology and the way we engage with our audiences through the virtual platforms. It's our #1 need in terms of outreach, and that's why this is good input. So
the other thing is, more classes. I she didn't really want to take any classes over the summer, and okay, so I can't really blame her, but there was not a huge number of choices anyway, which sort of surprised me, of DC classes. It's like, that seems like a great way to get your AA, is to take a lot of the DC stuff over the summer, and I did not see a lot of options.
We have this, education is interesting to me. I hope so, right? I mean, that's what we work in, but we're still very much based in this agrarian calendar where we start in the fall and we finish in the late spring. And we have to have the summer off because we got to go out and work in the fields and get the crops in, right? I'm a farm kid, but when was the last time I ever had my hands in the dirt, or my kids, right? I mean, we live in suburbia now. So changing that mindset, when our youngest was really little, he's now 6'5", 16, I can't feed him enough. He was on year round, and we loved it as parents. And I think, wow, what if we did that model K through 20, right? The amount of the, what do they call that, the summer drain, or the summer slide, right? I mean, we see the data in the elementary kids. Wouldn't it extrapolate over to high school kids and to college kids? And we see it at BYU Idaho, right? Now, private institution, they're able to say, when do you want to come to school here? We're going to put you in winter semester, summer semester, and that's how you do. But even from a logistical, operational standpoint, getting enough faculty to say, yeah, I want to teach this summer. What we have to look at is, okay, do we incentivize faculty to teach full loads during the summer so we can offer those classes knowing that they may not be full, but we hope in a year or two they catch up? These are the kinds of discussions that are happening and need to happen. I think it's,
So,
that's it? That's all? You'll come up with more, right?
well, I should have thought more about what you could have done better, I'm sure.
There'll be more.
Sharon,
We know we got a long ways to go.
when I worked at Boise State for Bob Custra, one of the things that he wanted to focus on was summer classes. And as you said, Mark, part of it is faculty contracts. So it's an ongoing issue. So we understand, but we'll talk about it. The other thing, the bond failed in November, and when I became the chair and wanted to do these listening sessions, people keep asking me, when are you going to go back for the bond? And my response, and I get that question probably 5 or 6 times a week at least, and I keep saying, and I said it last night in Meridian, I said, we don't know yet. We're looking at this listening tour. We're trying to collect all the feedback. We're revising a lot of plans behind the scenes. So we don't know yet. We're not even sure what the amount would be. But for you in the audience, why do you think the bond failed? I had last night, I had a couple comments, and I'd like to get your perspective.
Oh, here we go.
Ours passed by 12 votes.
Show off.
I think there are a certain group of people in Idaho that don't believe in paying any taxes. And so there's a certain group out there that think that any property taxes is too much. And so taxation is theft. I saw it on Facebook today, so it must be true. So I think there's a group of people that are like that, but I think there's another group of people that are pretty reasonable, that felt like that maybe the purchase of land wasn't carried out in the most business-like manner. And so I know several people that are into that category, and they might have voted for it if they'd had a little more information about vision, and this is what we want to do, and this is how we want to do it, and we got the appraisal, and this is how we're going to do it. And so, I mean, I know several people that talked to me about it said, I'm for education, but I don't think this was handled properly. And I'm not here to argue it. I'm just here to say this is the feedback I got.
Yeah.
No, I completely
Good
agree.
point.
I think the board did a really poor job promoting the bond, and we need to do it better.
Right here.
I worked with the people here on the bond, and we made some intentional decisions. I did vote for your bond, and,
Thank you.
but I certainly don't know how to tell you how to pass it or why it failed. We made some good decisions, though, and one of them was we didn't do any mailings. We didn't do any glossy brochures because everybody throws them away. Costs tens of thousands of dollars in your case. And we made an intentional decision away from that because the feedback we got was that just stirs the no votes. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is identify the yeses and stay with them. We took pretty much a social media approach and casual conversations with our superintendent on Facebook Live, a lot of very casual, low-key moments with the public was really I don't know if it passed it or not, but that was the decision we made, and maybe we would have passed it by more if we'd taken a different approach, or maybe it passed because no yard signs, nothing to stir the nose. That was kind of our philosophy, nothing to stir the nose. And so a strong social media presence, but we didn't put it in their face. It was really a rather low-key approach.
I'll add this because two of the people are here. They did a lot of work being at events too, and just educating people about what was in it for them. And I think that's a piece, at least for Kuna, and maybe that comes with a stronger partnership, a continued stronger partnership with the school district and the city and CWI. Is I don't know if people here realize what CWI means to them or the potential for them, whether it's them as a business owner or them having students that are going to potentially attend. Because we do have quite a large, I can't give you the percentage, but when we look at where our kids go after high school, those that are going on, they're going to CWI in large numbers. And so I think, I hate thinking that way because most of us in education are altruistic and we're in it for the greater good and all those things. But when people tell me that that's not, most people want to know how is it going to benefit me directly, and I think we can do a better job of maybe working together to help send that message, because children, parents are getting a good deal by sending their kids to CWI, the ones that live here, and grandparents and those sort of things. And I think more transparency is always good. That's something we continue to work on ourselves.
Really good points.
And I'm sure you've heard that, so it's probably nothing new. But
well, no, I think the board and maybe the whole staff, I don't know. I think that we just assumed that people knew us. And we didn't promote it very well. We didn't have a good campaign because we didn't have the money, because we could not use any college funds. We didn't even have a lot of money to even do anything. So it was basically social media. And we started too late. And then when we decided that we were going to go for a bond, we had no idea how much the presidential election would be so divisive. I think when we started, we didn't even know who the candidates would be, right?
Probably,
So I'm not making an excuse, but yeah, we took a lot of things for granted, and we won't do that again. But getting your feedback is really good.
Yeah.
Just a comment, and the comment is that what I would like to see is a partnership with the school districts and have the various people within leadership positions and students and parents all get together and really rally around the community for the approval of the bond, telling the public what it means to them, how important it is for them, and how it can affect their lives. And I don't think we got that message out, and I think that an active community support group in each of the communities throughout the Treasure Valley would be great.
I had a conversation with a member of the legislature this morning, he brought up that exact point. He said, he says, as I talk to people in my district here in Ada County, they know the initial CWI, they know it's a school, but that's about it. And we've been talking about, okay, we need to do some research work about penetration. Yes, I mean, you know the colors, you know the logo, right? That's been around 10 years, but what do we really do? And connecting that to what we do for the community, and then how we can improve that. Because I think you're right, Wendy, that's the connection that when, and you mentioned it as well, when people understand that this is the connection for my student living at home to a job, to a career. Now we know they're going to change careers, not jobs, careers 5 times or more now, but this starts them on their path, and it gets us towards our goal. And as parents, our goal is to get our children out of the house, off the payroll and out of our cupboards, right? That's our goal. So this helps further, I kid, but that, you know, we're trying to set our children up for success, and that's the link we can make.
So one comment, and then Emily wants to mention something. You know, we were so close to the bond. We knew that we needed a student success center. Do you know what that is? That's part of the problem. So again, we were so close to the plans and the issues, and we didn't sell it very well. So.
Thanks. Well, I want to start off by saying how much I appreciate and the board appreciates all of you here tonight. It means so much to come out here and set this up and do this work and have people actually come and participate with us. And I know we've said that earlier, but I want to reiterate it. It means a lot to us. We learned so much by having these conversations. And, you know, one thing I was thinking when you were speaking, Superintendent, I was thinking about, you know, when I was a kid, I thought college was something that rich kids did, right? And they went away for 4 years, and it cost a lot of money, and I knew they had a lot of parties. Like, that's what I knew about college, right? That's all I knew. And so I actually didn't get my GED until 10 years ago. I got my GED when I was 28, went to Boise State. This is right before CWI existed, so I didn't get to go to CWI. But what I've learned since then is that college is a lot of different things. College is also vocational training. College is also learning how to weld. College is learning how to be a plumber or how to be an electrician, or an array of things. And to me, that's the key to solving a lot of the educational issues we have in Idaho, is helping students understand it's not just for rich kids. It's not you leave the state and you go live on a lush campus and you have parties, right? It's a way that you can get a job so that you don't have to be poor the rest of your life. And it's a way that you can find something that makes you happy as a person, and it's not something that you have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on. And that, you know, getting that information into students' heads connects a whole bunch of different dots for our state. It connects the financial issues that we face. It connects in the brain drain that we're experiencing. And you know, as a board, we're committed to continue that work to help students understand this is not just about a 4-year English degree that people think is useless, which is not useless, by the way. My degree's in English, it was fine. But but helping them understand there's more to, yeah, see, we're doing fine. So that's the thing I'm thinking of as we're talking about this. The thing around this conversation is helping students to get that message. And we all need to do a better job at it, and we're committed to it.
Yay for English degrees, right? How about comm degrees? Anybody for comm degrees? Come on. Yeah, there we go.
I add a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Just, you mentioned the bond and stuff. The reason I got this T-shirt is that when you passed the first bond, you had night after night after night of borrowing the big room in the Kuna library and giving us all pizza and having us make phone calls. And I kept waiting for you all to call me up or send me a message and say, hey, come down to the library and make phone calls and we'll feed you pizza. And I even would have done it without the pizza. But I never heard about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Again, when the Community College Yes campaign 10 years ago happened, a lot of donors, I think it was like several $100,000 to do that campaign. 10 10 years today, when we tried to pass the bond in November, again, we could not use college funds. So we had to depend on, donations. We had a separate entity, and honestly, we raised less than $20,000. And so that was part of the problem. We couldn't do a phone bank. We couldn't do any advertising. We couldn't do TV ads. So again, we just didn't have the money because we were very conscious to make sure that we didn't use any college money. And that hurt us.
I think Mark hit on it earlier too, is that there's a really crowded space in last fall's election. And at the time the decision was made to, all right, let's go forward for a bond, that really takes it out of the college's hands, out of the institution's hands, as you know, with the school district, and it puts it into, a whole nother category. Most of the major donors in this area that contribute to these types of causes, their money was committed. There were congressional races, there were presidential races, a lot of legislative races, Supreme Court race that was pretty expensive this year. There just wasn't a lot of money out in the space. So, yeah, really good questions. Some other thoughts? You're right on the edge. I can feel it. There's something in there that I just haven't brought it out of you yet.
Just a little comment, and then I'll come back to you. I think it's really important. I've run for many offices, and I've been in the Idaho House, Idaho Senate, Eagle City Council, CWI Board, and each time I run, I have to be able to generate some money for signs, for literature, information to the voters, and it costs quite a bit. I asked a person when I ran for state legislature how much it's going to cost me, and they said, well, minimum $20,000. Well, that's what we had for the whole bond, and that was situation was just a simple district, not the whole Treasure Valley. One of the things that we'll need from you and the communities like Kuna, communities all over the Treasure Valley, is groups that are organized, that are calling to get donations, that are down there eating pizza and doing other things, calling the voters, helping the campaign possibly go door to door with handouts, things like that. I heard one of you said, well, we don't want to energize the no vote people, and you're right. And in some cases, like in school districts, the less activity it seemed like there's out there and more focused it is on the yes vote, the local school districts are successful. In this past election for various bonds, the school districts did very well. And I'm not sure exactly how, if we could do something like that or not. Maybe we could borrow your model. You could tell us how to do it. But that's one of the things that I think is an issue. Do you have other questions about what we need to do?
I knew there was more coming.
We did take the approach in the school district. We did not use any school district money to promote the bond, but we did make a pretty intentional effort to inform people, and we did use school district money to get out information. This is what the money is going to be used for. This is the need. This is where it will go, and so that was our approach. The committee had next to nothing to do their work, so that was kind of that was kind of our approach, is inform.
And we did that. State law will allow you to do an educational effort. And sometimes we use that term campaign and we swap them from what an actual campaign, advocacy campaign is, with an advertising or an educational support campaign. But we did the same because you have to, and you need to inform your voters. You need to inform your constituents. We had some folks that were trying to blur that line, and that's always going to be there. But I think there's some really good input. Yes, right here. Good, I love it.
So I just read an article about all of the big big stores, the retail stores, there's not as many summer jobs because there's not as much retail, and that some of the Macy's and some of the bigger retailers are going to be closing. And so there's like 109 shopping centers nationwide that are abandoned, and somebody's gone in and taken the pictures. Do we anticipate that there might be some abandoned type buildings that would be appropriate? I'll give you one more story. I went to Hawaii, and there's this really neat, huge mall that's got the Aloha Tower. And 10 years ago when I went, it was full of shopping centers. It's completely empty now. Community college is in there, and they actually have housing in what used to be stores. So just putting it out there to see if you've done any other research about those kinds of models.
I like that. Thank you.
It's interesting. Last night in Meridian, we had a very thorough discussion about that very issue. We had a woman who was talking about a shopping center that's going to close in Canyon County. So yes, I mean, we have discussed many options. So, you know, our board and the administration are open to every opportunity and every suggestion. So yeah, we're looking at a lot of things.
You know, it says, I was looking up the bill that the legislature was talking about last year because I wasn't sure if they passed it or not, but the one that really clamped down on the amount of education that people could use for bonds. And in the process, I ran into this other article that said you spent $370,000 to promote the bond. Now, obviously, that's Wayne Hoffman, and he's got, I mean, but that figure is out there.
We have, we've heard that. We talked to legislators about that bill, and it didn't pass. It didn't even get a hearing in the Senate. I know in the House hearing, there was at least one person that testified that we spent more than $300,000 for our campaign, and that is utterly false. I mean, we've tried to use facts. It didn't work. But again, the Senate didn't even get a hearing. But again, that is completely false. We did not spend that money, that much money.
That figure, just for your own edification, is that's what the entire department spent. Not even spent, it's what was budgeted for the year. So that's advertising, billboard, signage, clothing items, giveaways at different, you know, when we come to
The
Kuna High
brochures
School,
that you're getting tonight.
yeah, brochures, printing, you know, we want to come and we bring hats and t-shirts for students. You know, that's what the entire budget is. And that figure, see, and that's where that kind of, I hesitate to call it reporting, but when that kind of discourse gets out there in the public space, I had an old news director. I'm a recovering journalist, 23 years. An old news director used to say, and he smoked a pipe and he looked over the top of his glasses, and we'd be stressing out at 5:45 trying to get a story on the air, and he'd say, forget about it. Get it first at 6, right at 10. Never let the facts stand in the way of a really good story. And he'd slam the typewriter and we'd go again. And sometimes I think here we are 30 years later, we don't let the facts stand in the way of anything. Because if we put it on the internet, it's got to be true. I mean, 72% of all facts on the internet are made up. I saw a picture of Abraham Lincoln that told me that, right? So I appreciate you bringing that out, Sharon. So other thoughts? I want to be cognizant of your time. I don't want to take all evening long. I think the rain's finally stopped, so, you know, I don't want to tie you up all night long, but I love what we're getting. This is great. Yes, sir.
When Mark mentioned that we just got our own accreditation, we were through CSI, and that's been a wonderful partnership. But now we can do a lot of things. Are there other initiatives, other programs that we should focus on? Just so you know, we have like 160 programs through CSI, and now we have our own accreditation. So you probably don't even know all the programs that we have, and I guess we need to do a better job promoting that too. But are there other things that you think we should offer? So we're doing a great job.
I'm going to put it right there in the middle because I'm hoping
I
to
don't
get
know
both
if
of you.
you've got this yet, but the police officers, have we gotten that one figured out so we don't have to go to ISU to get our associates in police?
I didn't hear the question, but I think it was the police.
The post-academy police officer training, yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're doing that.
Because that was one that kids were going someplace else for, so it's good to have it in Idaho. You know, Boise State offers, once you're over 60, you can take audit classes for $5. And so that might be something to think about in terms of supporting the greater community, because a lot of senior citizens will say, I'm going to vote no on the bond because I don't need to go to school and, you know, my kids are grown, but if you had the opportunity to audit a class for $5, that's kind of cool.
Gets back to that old, you know, with what's in it for me,
Yeah.
right? So,
I would be remiss not to mention Mary Nyland, one of the original trustees, and she was the co-chair of the campaign that started CWI. She has mentioned for 10 years that part of, I guess, the promotion of the bond was to make sure that people could just take community classes, like, you know, like going to a senior center or. And we haven't really done that much because we've been focusing on lots of other plans. You know, having a startup college takes a lot of time and money. So we have not forgotten that, but we need to go back to what we said that we would do. So I understand.
Too,
absolutely.
is, you know,
Yeah.
we've got the people here, then we can offer space, you know, and reach out to our community members to, you know, we have staff that already, you know, that can teach for the community, or, you know, even college classes. So I think it's a great idea, Brenda.
Nationally, they'll tell you with community colleges that if you're serving 10% of the overall population of your service area, that you're about at full market. Well, we're what, 680, 675,000, somewhere in there, with projections to be at 1 million by 2025. Well, if you look at it and we're 24, 25,000, we still have a lot of growth to go before we even meet the demand, or to meet the population pool that's here now. But some of that would include senior classes, absolutely. So, yeah. But other questions? Now, the reason I came back to this slide was I know you're going to get driving home and you're going to think, oh, I had that dingbat right where I wanted him, and I wanted to nail him with this question. Email me. That listening tour actually comes to my box, your box, 3 or 4 boxes, so one of us will see it, and we'll get back to you. Yeah, take a snap of it. I learned that from the kids today. I heard that. There was a group of young kids having lunch next to me, and they said, oh, I'll just snap it to you. And I asked the gentleman that I was with, member of the legislature, I said, what does that mean? And he goes, oh, that's Snapchat. He goes, you don't snap? And I'm like, no. So snap it, and then you'll have it.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm learning something new every day.
Wow.
This is great.
So your son told you how to do that.
Yeah, he'll have to teach me how to do the app. Absolutely.
So I know when we've been doing this listening tour, we had a couple people on Facebook asking questions. Have we had any?
No questions tonight. We did
Okay.
have a hello, Emily, from a family in Colorado.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Do they? Okay, great.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, any
I
other
don't want to keep
questions?
you, but final thoughts that you've got, and I'm going to shut my end down.
Well, you know, for the board, thank you so much for attending. It's been a great initiative for us. I've learned a lot, and stay tuned. We want to engage the community better, and thank you so much with the school district for helping us. Thank you.